Thanks to Avalara, we can calculate sales tax on almost anything, anywhere automatically. Avalara.
What if tax rates change? Filing sales tax returns. Managing exemption certificates. Business license guidance? Does it connect with accounting? Item classification, cross-border sales. What about...
Do you have those budget markups? Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Octavia Gerby with Avalara, and thank you for joining us today. We will be covering Avalara products today, both our tax calculation software, AvaTax, and our exemption management solution. Again, my name is Octavia Gerby. I am the Strategic Alliance Manager that works with Spire directly, as well as their reseller channel here at Avalara. And I have my colleague Dylan Harden with us as well today, and he is the sales executive aligned to all Spire opportunities inside Avalara. So a quick overview of our agenda today. First, we are going to discuss why sales tax matters. Then we will touch on when to collect. We will briefly touch on Avalara AvaTax, our tax calculation software, and then our exemption management solution as well. We will end with a demo so that you can get an understanding of what our solution looks like. So first up, let's review why sales tax even matters. I know that most companies that use Spire typically are in Canada, but we've seen a lot of Spire companies starting to sell into the US, and the tax compliance landscape in the US is a lot different than it is in Canada. First and foremost, almost every state in the United States does rely on sales tax for their revenue. There are 5 states, we call them our nomad states, which are New Hampshire, Oregon, Montana, and Alaska, and Delaware, that do not collect sales tax, but all of the other states in our country do, and it becomes increasingly difficult to keep up with those. As you can see, most of the revenue from our states are created by sales tax, and so it is ultra important if you are selling into the US to ensure that you are compliant. States, again, are looking to crack down on sales tax. We are seeing states start to add additional thresholds as well as change product taxability from state to state. And so again, ensuring that you are up to date with the rules and regulations within the US are vital in ensuring that your business is compliant. So when to collect? Got Nexus? For clarity, Nexus, the definition, is your obligation to collect and remit sales tax within the US, and it is defined on a jurisdictional level. For most states, it is at the state level, but there are some states within the United States where you also have local jurisdictions as well. There are a couple of different types of Nexus. Most people understand physical Nexus. It is where you have a physical location, maybe you hold inventory in that state, or you have W-2 or 1099 employees. For the most part, most companies know where their physical obligations are. Economic nexus is where things become a little trickier. 5 years ago, South Dakota versus Wayfair allowed each of our states to determine their own thresholds, and those vary state by state. You'll also see click-through nexus. It is when an out-of-state business can establish nexus in a state within state businesses. And that can happen through commission for referring certain amounts of sales or even out-of-state sellers. And then affiliate nexus can be tricky as well. Basically, this is when an out-of-state business has an affiliate located within a state. And the definition of affiliates can range state by state, and it really depends on the type of relationship that they have. And then lastly, you will see marketplace nexus. This is when a marketplace like eBay or Amazon may be required to collect and remit sales tax if it operates a business within the state. So let's take a closer look at some nexus creating activities. As you can see here at trade shows, we've seen a lot of companies go back to being on the road. Going to a trade show can create a nexus obligation. Commission to resellers, marketing and web advertising, the dreaded drop shipping, all of these things can trigger nexus for your company. There are a lot of things that can be included in our economic nexus thresholds. I want to highlight here because I know that a lot of companies in the Spire ecosystem do a lot of B2B sales, and so a lot of their businesses may be tax exempt. Some of these states do count that tax exempt sales into those thresholds. And so ensuring that you are keeping up with all of your sales throughout the United States is vital in ensuring that your company is registered in all the states they need to be. Again, I mentioned a little bit earlier that this economic nexus is 5 years old, but we are still seeing those effects today. As you can see on this map, Missouri actually went into effect January 1st of this year. And so things are constantly changing, and it is vital to keep track of all of that to ensure that your company is up to date. And I do want to highlight jurisdictional assignments in tax calculations. A lot of companies think that zip codes are what quantify tax calculations in the US, and that is not the case. We have a lot of zip codes that have multiple jurisdictions inside of them. And so using a solution like Avalara, where we do a rooftop level, we are ensuring that we are tagging the right taxing jurisdiction with all of your sales. I know that a lot of companies in the Spire ecosystem mainly focus on the B2B space, and so I really wanted to spend some time understanding exemption certificates and the importance there. Your business and your customers may be tax exempt, and so a lot of times you think that sales tax compliance really doesn't affect you. But the truth is those papers are vital in ensuring that your company is compliant. We have found that tax exempt sales are the low hanging fruit for auditors. And so ensuring that they are valid and up to date is important so that you are not on the hook for that sales tax that should be collected. And again, I do want to highlight that exempt sales do count towards those thresholds. As you can see here, all of the orange states count tax exempt sales into those thresholds. I live in North Carolina, for instance, and our threshold is $100,000. If you sell $100,000 into the state of North Carolina, even if it is all tax exempt, in theory, your company needs to be registered and remitting sales tax in that state. You may file a $0 tax return because you did not collect any sales tax in that state, but it is still vital to ensure that you are keeping track of that, because if you need to be registered in the state and are not, you may be subject to penalty and fines. I do want to highlight that some other states have a mixed bag where tax exempt sales and gross sales are calculated. California and New York, for instance, are very complicated states in the US. And if you are a business that is selling into either of those two states, probably be very helpful to have a conversation with Avalara. The truth is that the burden of proof is on you. While your customers may provide the documentation, the burden is on the seller during the audit to prove why that tax was not charged. I'd also like to highlight that if you have sales teams that are collecting those exemption certificates, they may not know what those forms actually look like. Time and time again, we hear of companies handing over business license or state registrations as their exemption certificates, and that is not the proper documentation. And again, that burden of proof is on you, the seller. So if those documents are not correct, easily accessible, or no longer valid, your company is on the hook for that sales tax. Not only that, but exempt customer experience is key. Customers feel burdened by being asked to provide documentation, and no one likes a delay when ready to place an order. A poor experience often presents as billing issues. It can increase the likelihood of credit and rebills, and held invoices can create cash flow issues. And so again, ensuring that all of this is up to date and maintained, again, is crucial for your business. And that is where Avalara comes in. We do have a solution, our exemption certificate management solution, that is best in class solution for exemption certificate collection and compliance management. And with that, I will pass this over to Dylan Harden, and he will give you a demo so that you can see what these solutions look like within your Spire system.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dylan Harden, and I'm the sales executive at Avalara that works with the Spire integration. Today, we're going to be going through the Avalara Sales Tax Console. Here on the home page, we have the economic nexus thresholds for remote sellers. So this is how we're going to track your economic nexus. We know that many Spire customers are located in Canada, but if you sell into the US, you will have to abide by the rules and regulation that each state has. In order to require registration, a lot of the states will have individual thresholds. These thresholds are either based on sales or transactions or both. Most commonly, it's $100,000 in gross sales or 200 individual transactions. Here you can see there's 3 different colors. You have gray, yellow, or orange. Right now it's just showing gray and orange, but if it's gray, you don't have to worry about economic nexus in that state just yet. If you had a yellow state, you'd be between 80 and 99% of that sales threshold. And the orange state is where you've crossed economic nexus and you need to register. So if you have a state, it'll have the sales threshold, your sales, and the reason why you need to register because of those sales. If you have a state that's in orange and you need to register, you can either reach out to the state directly, fill out the proper paperwork, and get the tax ID, or you can reach out to Avalara and we can facilitate that registration in a couple of days. You can hit register in a new place, and that will allow you to register in a new states once you need to get registered through the economic nexus threshold rules. In terms of calculating tax, Avalara is very confident that no matter where you do business, we can collect and remit the proper tax for you. Avalara provides an accuracy guarantee, so any rules, regulations that may change in the future, we guarantee we're going to keep updated with those. And if you have a rate and you get audited, we will back that rate 100%, and we will provide documentation here to show what was collected and how it was determined. So if you look at the different transactions, we'll click on this one from Colorado. You can see even if there's multiple line items, we can still determine the tax for you. So we have a big computer here for one of the line items, the appropriate tax code. So that tax code is Avalara specific, and it lets us know what's being sold, whether it's a product or a service. You have the ship from and the ship to. And then this is the decision tree that Avalara is going to come up with each time we make a tax decision. So we're going to look at, are you collecting tax? Is your customer taxable? And is the product or service that you're providing taxable in that state or that jurisdiction? In Colorado, they're collecting tax there, their customer is taxable, and the product and service is taxable. So it's a little bit more complicated than just finding one rate. In many instances, you'll have to find multiple rates if you're doing this manually, but this is what we automate for you. So in Colorado, you have an appropriate state tax, county tax, city tax, and a special taxing jurisdiction. You'll have the individual rates here, the composite rate, and then what the total is for that customer, what they owe in taxes. Your customer is not going to see all this craziness, but in the future, if you're ever audited, this is what an auditor would look at to see how we determined and calculated that tax. If you have any exempt customers, so if you have customers that are exempt for any reason, whether they're a government entity, a church, a hospital, a reseller, for any reason they wouldn't be paying that tax, they would provide you with an exemption certificate. In the states of the US, there are many different rules around collecting and maintaining these certificates. Each state is going to be a little bit different. Some of the states expire, but we can help you automate and keep up with all these on a moving forward basis. Here is our exemptions tab, where we can let you know if any exemption certificate is expiring. You can review incoming certificates to make sure they're valid. And if you have any customers that are missing certificates, you can very easily identify those and request new certificates. You have the wheel here that lets you know what percentage is valid, missing, or expired. If you have someone that's expired and you need to request the certificates, it's as simple as requesting the certificate here through this button. Once you do that, they will get an email from you to say that you're working with Avalara and you need their exemption certificate information to stay valid and for you not to collect any tax from them. Once that happens, the certificate will be uploaded into this tab, and we'll make sure to mark them as a valid certificate and someone we don't have to worry about until the next time that certificate expires or needs to be updated. In terms of filing returns, we can file your returns in Canada if you wish. If you have any states in the US, any jurisdictional returns you need done, we can help you out with that. Depending on the state and depending on the return, you'll have different details that you can see here. So for Alabama, it looks like this customer has a couple different returns. They're filing monthly. They have the total sales. This one looks like it's a $0 return. A lot of times in the US, even if something is not taxable, you still might need to be registered there and file a 0 return. But it's very simple managing all the different states. You can approve returns here. If you don't manually approve the returns, that's fine. We're going to automatically approve those for you on the 10th of the month at 8 o'clock Pacific time. That way we can start the filing process on time or early. In many cases, if you file early in some states, they will give you a discount. We guarantee, along with that accuracy guarantee, that we're going to file on time early to get you that discount in some cases, and make sure that if there's any amendments, we can file that on the following return. As you add different states, you can add those returns. We will process the return as far as generating it. We will file it, and then we will also handle the payment. So the payment works similarly to payroll, to where you will designate an ACH account. That account will be funded with the tax that you've collected, and then you will sign power of attorney to give Avalara the ability to pull from that account and pay all the states at the same time. So if you're a monthly filer in 10 different states, that's all right. We're going to pay all the states at the same time each month. And if something changes, we handle tax notices. So if you're filing monthly for a certain period and that state, for whatever reason, changes it and says, okay, we want you to file quarterly now, we will handle that, get it updated, and make sure that we give you the proper returns moving forward. With the settings, here's where you're going to let us know where you collect tax and what you sell. So whether you're selling flip-flops, computers, software, medical devices, we're going to make sure we know exactly what you're selling and where you're selling it. So here is the tab where you let us know where you collect tax. Because it's a demo account, all these have already been added. But when you first start, it'll be a clean slate. You'll hit this plus button on where you need to collect tax. You can select any of the states or territories where you need to collect tax at, or where you want to let us know that you're compliant in. So if it's a couple of states to start, you'll hit add selected regions, and that'll let Avalara know that you are collecting in those new states. You will also use the settings to set up what you sell, and you will assign different products that you're selling or services to Avalara specific tax codes. Once that item code or the product code in your platform is assigned to an Avalara tax code, you can see these are assigned here. We've got different products and services. We've got thousands of different tax codes. So no matter what you guys are doing, we will be able to handle that. We also have a tax code lookup tool. So we might have many different tax codes for different products. If there's changes in those products and it affects the taxability, we'll have an individual tax code. But we have a lookup tool to where we can help you out, and we can make sure you have everything you need from that point to identify that product and make sure we're collecting on it properly. So that's the quick overview of the Avalara console. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and we'd be happy to talk with you. Even if you're just getting started or you're not really sure what to do or where to go, we're happy to speak with you and give you whatever you need. I hope you have a great day, and thank you so much for joining.